Morning, everyone. It's me again. So now the panel moderator for this section were three good friends, and happy to have David, Oda-san, and Kevin with us today, and from different part of the world, sharing their prospects and insights of what Web3 crypto is happening in different countries. Maybe I'll start with a short self-introduction by each of our speakers. I'll invite David first to do a short introduction, and then we go into discussions.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, it's such a great pleasure to be here in Hong Kong again and see the vibrancy of the Web3 communities. I am the chairman of the Global FinTech Institute. I'm also the professor at the Singapore University of Social Sciences. My research and also my investments is in the area of Web3.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is Genki, chairman of JVCA. And the JVCA is a self-regulatory organization of crypto in Japan. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, please.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Goldstein. My wife and I have a advisory business based in the United States, working in the ecosystem for more years than I can remember. And it's a delight to be here and join old friends and new friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. So why don't we do, I think we all share last year's in the same festival here in Hong Kong. So can we do a short, summary or introductions of what do you think about that happened in your part of the country or in the globally? Can we do let's do a sharing-ish on the, especially on US, a lot happened, but I know Japan, there's many things happens in Japan as well, but David, maybe we do about what you think about the past years.
Yeah, a lot has happened actually, of course, mainly US, Hong Kong, Dubai, and the rest of the world. And in Singapore, we are still seeing license being issued, almost like a month, under the payments legislation, especially the MPI, major payment institution, that they could do crypto assets and so on. And we also see a lot of interesting ethics and regulation and efforts in building digital infrastructure. One of the most interesting is that it has moved on from the Monetary Authority of Singapore to the IMDA, the Infocom Media Development Authority, and they have a digital trust framework, which is very interesting because when we are dealing with crypto, it's all about trust. We're dealing with blockchain, it's about trust. And they're moving ahead where Web3 is converging with AI, IoT, cloud, and also XR. So they come up with this framework which enhance the digital trust globally. And one is to ensure that there are some sort of principles for security. So there's security as well as resilience for the digital infrastructure or anyone who is involved in the business. And then it's about accountability and transparency. So all businesses have certain principles that they should follow. And also digital data privacy and ethical behavior, which is with AI coming into crypto, blockchain, ethical behavior and a set of standards of professional practice is important. And finally, interoperability. So they have this SADI sort of principles for us to follow and start building digital infrastructures like Global Layer 1, which then we see government involving, as previous speakers have spoken and yourself, collaboration. How to build a highway where all the cars can come on, which is all the partners that we have. I think those are the major developments I see in Singapore.
Thank you. That's follow-up question is kind of interesting. So the IMDA, they involve in the roadmap for the, because they are very different from MAS. MAS is more like just the regulator, right? IMDA, as I know, they are more connecting to the industry, building up a new industry in Singapore and for the business prosperity. Right? So that's a very different angle that they involve.
Yeah, actually what we are involved in when you talk about digital infrastructure is just not about monetary authority. It is about Ministry of Communication, it is about Ministry of Trade, because now we are talking about supply chain, going cross-border, standardization of documents. We may even want to think about, which is impossible, harmonization of RegTech, harmonization of regulation across jurisdiction. So it's going beyond in the crypto 2.0, just purely the monetary authority. We got to get everybody involved. And IMDA has been doing this AI, blockchain, quantum computing with a report in 2019 that it came out. And it is actually for Temasek and GIC to look at the report and say, where do I invest? Where should the country be focusing on? But I suppose now that they are moving beyond that, so Singapore is attracting more like we have all the chip producer because of crypto we need the hardware too, right? And the US has got a lot of regulation, a lot of sanctions and so on. Then also the software. So it is a all ministry effort rather than just a monetary authority.
Thank you. Interesting. So it's sort of like Hong Kong having Hong Kong MA and maybe FSDC, right, to come out and advise on the digital infrastructure and the roadmap for the industry development. So Oda-san, can you update us on what Japan is?
This year, and in the Japanese crypto market changed dramatically in this year. And the number of crypto wallet customer in Japan is exceeded more than 12 million customers, 12 million, and it means more than 10% of Japanese people have crypto wallet now. And follow this trend, the Japanese government decided to change the law from Payment Act law to Financial Instrument and Exchange Act. Yeah, and what is the most important is we classify crypto not as security. Yeah, we think crypto not security. Yeah, we devise it. Yeah, and the crypto and the security and the NFT and the stablecoin is quite different thing. Yeah.
Because 20 million is a lot for people in a country that own wallet. And last time we were in Japan, we discussed about the importance of these changes of the law and regulations. Because now crypto, if you trade crypto in Japan, the tax is 55%, right?
Yeah, 55%.
55%. Yeah. So that actually, even though you have so many exchanges license issue in Japan, but the tax is actually one thing that I wouldn't say stop, but restrict people trading crypto and cryptocurrency product. So now, if the law passed in Japan, then it will go from 55% to 20%.
50%, yeah.
To 20%.
Yeah, that's right. And as Duncan says, mentioned, after the law change, we are trying to build up three things. One is the tax reform, and from 55% to 20%. And the other thing is the Bitcoin ETF.
Bitcoin ETF
in Japan. And I'm sure from next April, Japanese government and JFSA will permit Bitcoin ETF in Japan.
In Japan, yeah.
And another important thing is leverage ratio. Leverage ratio. Before the leverage ratio of crypto in Japan was 25 times, but now just 2 times.
Yeah.
And by changing the leverage ratio, the trading volume of crypto in Japan was get very shrink.
Okay.
Yeah. And now we are trying to change the leverage ratio to max 10 times.
10 times.
10 times.
So now all exchange in Japan can only provide 2 times.
That's right. Yeah.
2 times.
2 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your proposal is 10 times.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So these are the 3 main changes. And we talk about stablecoin later, because I know Japan also passed the stablecoin thing, but we talk later. Kevin, very interesting. Last year, we talk in Hong Kong. We have a short discussion last night. Things is like 180 degree, in the US. It's totally different from, when we meet last year, the scene. Can you update us, these Trump 2.0 new policy in the US?
I was going to joke that I'm so honored to be here this year and to be invited by Dr. Xiao and the Hashkey Group and DoYu and the Wangshan Blockchain Lab. I don't know why they invited me. It's not like there's been much going on in the United States, but it is absolutely fascinating. And I would also say that what you and your colleagues here in Hong Kong have done, Duncan, in the past year is also very impressive in your thoughtful progress and how you were even ahead of us. But as I said in my address in October, that I thought that if Trump won, that the U.S. likely would go from being an anchor on the global ecosystem to being, quite frankly, leading it. And it's exceeded even my expectations. And to say that I have a couple things to relay is evidenced by the fact that my memory is good, but not that good. But let me touch upon some of them, which I think maybe are not being as widely reported, or perhaps I can give you some insight in addition to the other speakers. There's no question that Trump is doing what he pledged to do, which in the U.S. is a bit unusual for a politician. And so the fact that we have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I think they got to the right place by putting just Bitcoin in it and then creating this separate digital asset stockpile with the other assets. And there's no question, and there's even a bill in Congress that Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming has proposed to buy another 1 million Bitcoin. And so this is doing exactly what we thought it would do in terms of shaking up the perceptions globally, and I think getting a lot of governments around the world to think perhaps additionally. But then when I look at what Trump has done in terms of the nominations of Bessent as Treasury Secretary and Lutnick as Commerce, these are very pro-digital asset, crypto individuals. You look at their history. I mean, Howard Lutnick has an affiliation with Tether from his former Cantor Fitzgerald days. But I think what's really surprised me and many in the U.S. is the depth and breadth of the Trump family involvement. I did not foresee this, but the World Liberty Financial effort, which raised $550 million in a token raise, the fact that they have announced they're going to launch a stablecoin. Recently, you may not have noticed that the Trump brothers are partnering up with a company called Hut 8 to create American Bitcoin, a specific mining effort. So the Trump family is all in, and some would say that the Trump wealth is now greater from our ecosystem than his history of real estate. So that is absolutely consistent with what he has been pledging to do, and why I think we have a lot of confidence that he will continue to, as he said, make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. As far as Congress, you're well aware of the stablecoin legislation that's moving on both houses. It is very fast to many, but I will tell you, and others are going to comment on this, they've been working on these for years. So while it's moving fast, a lot of the work has been being done for years, including by my friend Jason Brett, who's going to give a keynote in a little while. When you look at the SEC and the CFTC, again, Paul Atkins has been passed through is going to be approved. Brian Quintenz, who obviously is going to head the CFTC. It's total sea change. They've been dropping, obviously, lawsuits against the Coinbases, the Ripples, the Binances. Hester Pierce, as is referenced earlier, is leading a task force. So we now have an SEC and a CFTC that are going to work together, which we have not had. And they're going to push forward with innovation and responsible, I believe, regulation. I think in custody, the repeal of SAB 121, which made it prohibitive for a bank to custody assets, is obviously a sea change. And you're now seeing, listen, big banks, Boney, State Street, and many other banks that are offering custody services, and not just for the crypto, the Bitcoin ETFs, et cetera. So, and of course, the FDIC, they've come out and said that the banks don't have to ask for permission to engage in crypto. So this is really a sea change in there. In terms of industrial adoption, listen, the BlackRock success with BUIDL and the tokenizing a money market fund with the securitized protocol, it's approaching $2 billion in assets rapidly. It's indicative of where Larry Fink, who we like to joke is the chief marketing officer of Bitcoin, where he has said tokenization of financial assets is coming and will revolutionize many things. I think what you're going to see, which people aren't talking about, is a very important development in prime brokerage. You've not heard that today, you won't hear it again, but prime brokerage is the investment banks facilitating the institutional asset managers trading, lending, borrowing. Very critical, as well as what enables this ecosystem institutionally to grow is going to be the continuing evolution, as I've witnessed in my career, of the service providers to enable it in technology and software and all the financial. So that is very important. Obviously, products are coming. You may not have noticed Fidelity announced a no-fee crypto IRA, first of its kind, that'll allow exposure to a few assets. That's remarkable. Institutional staking is rapidly being evaluated and looked at. Lastly, a couple points. Sorry if I'm going on too long, but obviously a few things have been going on. You're going to see mergers and acquisitions occur now with a rapidity that we haven't seen. Obviously, traditional finance, as they always do with new financial assets and the evolution of their businesses, have this build, buy, or lease choice. We accept that the big financial institutions will build, but many of the others, of course, will look to lease, and you're going to see and or buy crypto native firms. So I think you're going to see this merging of TradFi and crypto and DeFi in a way that is going to be unleashed that we haven't seen. And the M&A is going to be there. The exchange consolidation is going to happen. Broker-dealers are going to be acquired. So look out for M&A activity picking up. And lastly, IPOs. Obviously, we have a tumultuous time going on right now. But there's no question that there's a lot of crypto-native firms that are queuing to go public. Obviously, Circle filed their S1. Kraken, Gemini, Paxos, BitGo, Crypto.com, MoonPay, and the list goes on. Galaxy Digital will be able to list from Toronto to New York. And so we're seeing on all these different fronts movement that is mind-boggling to us who have worked in the ecosystem a long time, but by the same token now consistent with what the change in administration has said they were going to do. So thank you. Thank you for being patient and listening.
Thank you, Kevin. There's definitely a long list that actually has happened. And it's only, you know, from our last meeting in October, you just remind me, it's only 6 months. So it's actually, you know, this sea change, you know, a lot of things is happening. Like you mentioned, the Trump family participations and regulatory, you know, attitude, change of the regulatory attitude. And I think most importantly is that, you know, really, I had a sharing last time that, you know, I have some charts I didn't bring with me today. The traditional finance or the maybe Web2 company jumping into the digital asset scene. So a lot of institutions, banks, huge big funds, they're all jumping into the scene and, you know, they're joining with the Web3 revolution this time. So you mentioned also IPOs, so Circle, and I think the biggest exchange in Japan was also listed last year, right, in US. So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think all these new, what we call old money, you know, coming into the scene is a good thing and institutionalize all the development in digital assets, right? And is it also considering the crypto native, you know, crowd, as I mentioned in my speech, that, you know, there are people that are wanting to stay in crypto native way where, you know, everything decentralized, less regulations and stuff. So what are your take on this?
Well, I think it's a good thing. Very simply said, it is what many of us in the ecosystem have hoped for many years. Obviously, there's some that are crypto native that are conflicted. But at the end of the day, if this ecosystem is going to evolve and grow, the institutions are going to facilitate it. And so in the general statement, it's absolutely a good thing. And I said in October at the Wangchang Blockchain Summit, you know, why does Wall Street finally get involved? It's very simple, money, right? Wall Street now understands it can make money. They've been waiting to embrace this ecosystem. Many have been trading it, maybe have been offering services that are more, you know, more quiet to their clients. But what they've been really waiting for is a regulatory environment that gives them permission, that gives them cover, that gives them the rules of the road. As you noted in your talk earlier, Duncan, that we're not having an SEC that enforces by, through enforcement their policies. We're now going to have thoughtful, like you've been doing here in Hong Kong, thoughtful policy, legislation to make it statutory, so it just can't be reversed in a next executive order from the next president, et cetera. So there's no question that TradFi and DeFi are coming together. And what I think is going to be so interesting and what we all have to figure out is who are going to be the winners. But TradFi is absolutely going all in, more than most people realize. I know this because of my work, and I'm telling you, the banks have been waiting to be custody. The banks have been waiting to provide services to the institutional clients, like I referenced prime brokerage, which has absolutely enabled the hedge fund industry to evolve globally. So it's such a good thing. All due respect to those who want crypto to stay retail, it's going to be institutional and retail on a scale that I think we haven't even, the wildest expectations are possible.
Interesting. So we expect a lot more to come from the US. I think in the next few months. It's only a few months into the Trump 2.0, so we expect.
Well, and if I may add, Duncan, I think that Trump only has a window of months, okay? Because again, we have a midterm election later next year. So the Trump organization, the Trump administration is working as fast as possible because they are well aware, as you may also be aware, that he has a very limited window to do all the things he's doing in his administration, but also certainly in this ecosystem. And if I may make one other comment, because obviously we exist not in a vacuum, but in a global economy. And I don't want to be remiss in not acknowledging that the world changed further last Wednesday with his announcement of tariffs. But as a student of history, I'd just like to share a quick comment. When Ronald Reagan became president in early '81, Paul Volcker crushed our economy by raising rates because we had stagflation. We had huge inflation that they had. The U.S. went into a recession in '81, '82. It wasn't pleasant, but that set the foundation for growth and the evolution of the financial markets in the U.S. from '82 to '99. So I would say to you that a lot of people are criticizing what the administration is doing. They may be right, they may be wrong, but what the Trump administration is trying to do, and Scott Bessent is very bright, and we don't necessarily like tariffs, and we like free and fair trade, generally speaking, but they're trying to restructure and reset an existing order that was not sustainable, to be blunt. So we may have some more turbulence. I don't know if we'll escape a recession in the U.S. and the implications for the world economy, and obviously the implications for our ecosystem. I'm well aware what Bitcoin did overnight, as we all are. But I would say, please be patient. Please keep the faith. And that if they're successful, and I think they will be, it will set up a period of prosperity for the U.S., and I believe the rest of the world, and most importantly for our ecosystem, that I'm very hopeful will be realized. Thank you for allowing me to say that.
Yeah, I agree, Kevin. It's totally, I think it's a new economic paradigm that, bringing around. And I think with Trump, he has, more than 20 billionaire in his cabinet. He has been well advised by a lot of business people. Interesting to see how things turn out. I think the Hang Seng Index dropped 2,000 points as of now, but it's a new paradigm I think everyone has to face globally. And let's go back to Web3. We're gonna, we have other panel talk about tariff and stuff. So let's go back to Web3. But going back to stablecoin, we'll go to switch back to Japan. And as we said, your exchange listed in the US. And stablecoin, actually, the bill has passed in Japan, right?
Yeah.
And we were in Japan last year. And by the way, we have to, give a brief introduction of JVCEA, right? Because this is the consortium represent all the exchanges in Japan.
Yeah.
And we were talking last year, and Sony, actually, when I was in Japan, announced they're going to issue a stablecoin or the Sonium, the ecosystem. What is that about? Yeah.
Okay.
That's a big thing in Japan.
Yeah. And first, as of stablecoin in 2023, 2023, the law as of stablecoin was enacted in Japan, And last year, the first stablecoin distributor license was permitted in Japan. And as of stablecoin law, in Japanese company can issue and distribute stablecoin pegged to fiat currency like USDC or RUSD. Yeah. And the JVCA is also the SRO of stablecoin too. And as Duncan mentioned, the Sonium is not stablecoin. Yeah, that is blockchain project. Yeah. And that's not a stablecoin. Yeah.
Not stablecoin.
Yeah.
Okay. So stablecoin, as we understand, is it going to be led by the MUFG group, the Mitsubishi group? Or?
Yes. Mitsubishi Group is trying to build up new stablecoin. And first, in Japan, last month, USDC was permitted to distribute in the Japanese market. Yeah, but I think in this year or next year, some stablecoin pegged to fiat currency will be start to for issue and distribute. Yes.
Yeah. That's very interesting because that's also something that we are studying here in Hong Kong. You know how USDC was allowed to be distributed in Japan. I think that's a passport way that you created in Japan, which is a very new model. I think it's only in Japan, right? That's the first one.
Maybe, yeah, only in Japan. Yeah, only in Japan. And stablecoin law is classified not as a crypto law. Yeah, it is separated crypto and stablecoin. Yeah, and the stablecoin law is governed by a Payment Act. Yeah, and as I said, now the cryptocurrency will be changed from Payment Act to Financial Instrument and Exchange Act. Yeah, but stablecoin is a Payment Act. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to David. I know, David, you've been not just familiar with the Singapore market, also Hong Kong, China. You have very involved in the whole development of the Web3 industries in Hong Kong. So we mentioned about what new announcements approach in the U.S. about the the Web3 and the VA digital asset related regulations. For the tariff, I know the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lawrence, he actually made a good video yesterday. A lot of people watch it, so he said he's not going to fight back or things or give impend new tariff against U.S. side. And I think that's a very calm and very needed video from Singapore about the intention about the tariff situation. But what about all these new changes in the U.S. about the Web3 and the crypto legislation? Has actually Singapore side has any feedback on the scene, the sea change in the U.S. or
Okay, if I can recall, Paul Atkins and Hester Peirce actually made a visit to Hong Kong and Singapore in 2019 to look at how the crypto scene in Asia was doing. So there's extensive discussion with Hong Kong community and also Singapore. And you can see that whatever they were discussing there at that time of Safe Harbor, Sandbox, and you look at all her writings in back to 2019, everything that she has announced in the last two months are based on what she has been talking about with Paul Atkins since 2019. So this is a team that in the world, to me, not only are familiar with the Web2 financial architecture and infrastructure and regulation, and how regulation can change another entire landscape of finance, but they are also the team that really know about Web3 because they have been lying low for 6 years. And now they get a chance to do what they want to do. And I feel that the whole world is focusing on the US, especially if we just talk about the stable coins, and your presentation actually summarized quite a lot of them. But I think the most important thing that we are seeing now is that all these tariffs and so on, as a lot of hedge fund managers, they are looking at it as just a way to negotiate for the new financial landscape that we're going to see in the next 1 to 2 years. And that includes China in the conversation. And that's only through the trade. So this is a very short time period, and I think the market is reacting correctly. We need to have a deflation after so many years of QE from 2008. And Satoshi Nakamoto is exactly right that and all his wishes are, or all their wishes are now being seen. So it is a good thing to see market coming down 2,000 points. It will cause pain, but a cold turkey from the economics viewpoint is the only way to reshuffle the cards and to ensure that we have a financial system ready for crypto 3.0. We are at 2.0. So we have stable coins. We have all the sandbox that have collaboration. We are building government open permissionless blockchain, which is the highway for different cars to come on. But 3.0 is important because the major problem in the financial sector, as all regulators know, is about investment and lending for SMEs. What can crypto 3.0 do for financial inclusion? What can we put on all the financial instruments into that so that US can take the lead and the rest? So US is all in and Asia will be all out to support the kind of initiative. So to ensure that whatever hasn't been able to solve by World Bank, IMF, IFC, and central banks will be solved by what Satoshi Nakamoto has always been talking about in that white paper. And this is why we are all here about Web3. Why we are here, it is not about punting, it is not about Singapore launching perpetual futures, but those are important. Because you don't launch the perpetual futures, there's no trading volume in the underlying instrument. How can we use this instrument to raise funds for the SMEs who account for 80% of employment in the world? So we have to refocus. What is Hester Peirce, Paul Atkins, and all the regulators in Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, and the rest of the world thinking? It is not only MAGA. It is not only Make America Great Again. It's MTWGA. It is about making the world great again.
Wow, that's a very big perspective, making the world great with the technology. So I think technology always change people's, how we live, how we actually, do business whatsoever. So that touch on a little bit on what I want to share next is the future. What do we expect either from your country or from the technology? What innovation that we're looking forward to? Because from my work, I share about my perspective of the next 1-2 years that I want to advocate. Right, is Hong Kong doing clear product classifications? Finish the legislation that we actually tabled, the consultations that we've done, the VOTC, custodian, product issuance, token issuance in Hong Kong, how we define is this securities or this is not security, which is for professional investors, which is for retail investors. So these roadmap, I think, is going to take us, as legislator or the government regulatory department, the next 1-2 years work. So what about from your perspective, from things that you're working on? What do you expect the next 1-2 year and what you foresee will happen, David?
Okay, the first thing I want to say, which a lot of people don't see, is that AI is going to cause a lot of damage. AI is going to have a lot of scams. AI is going to produce a lot of false receipts to make accounting really bad. AI is going to ensure that all the, especially the generative AI and AI agent, without crypto, without blockchain, without Web3, is going to be very damaging for the economy. And the compliance cost for AI is going to be tremendous. You think that Web3 compliance cost is going to be high, but AI compliance cost is going to be multifold as compared to Web3. So this is where the opportunity for Web3 to come in and say that this is the time that we need to make trust important again. And the only way to create trust is through blockchain. The only way to create trust is through crypto. The only way to have instant payments to payments, the only way to have instant payments versus delivery is through crypto. And for crypto to thrive, we need to have Web3, all the Bitcoin, all the Solana, all the Ether, all the Avalanche that we're seeing, and also the government-created global layer 1, government Bitcoin, maybe in future China Ethereum, that we have to come together to ensure that anyone can transfer any money, any asset, in any amount, at any time, in any place, in any fraction, to anyone. Only then that we can solve the real problem in the financial problem in this world, and also to counter the damage done by AI. So this is my wish.
Okay, so AI and Web3, I think that's actually a big topic this year. A lot of panels going to talk about this. One good thing with AI is helping us to translate. It's not perfect yet, but it's saving a lot of money. So, Oda-san, what do you
Yes, in 2017, more than 50%, more than half percent of Bitcoin trading was made in Japanese yen.
Half.
More than half.
Half in yen.
Of total Bitcoin trading volume was made.
Total volume Asia
Yeah.
or globally?
Yeah, no, not
Global.
global.
Half
Was-
in
yeah,
yen.
Yeah.
Which is, that's
2017.
2017. So
yeah.
half the trading in yen.
But now just only 1%.
1%. Okay.
Only now 1%.
Yeah.
And I want to change the market share of Japan to 20%.
Oh,
20%.
So the aim is 20%.
20%.
Okay.
Yeah, by changing the law and the tax reform and the leverage ratio and the Bitcoin ETF. And also, I think what is the most important thing in this market field is anti-money laundering and the
The AML.
security
Yeah.
is very important. And in this year, we built up crypto Isaac in Japan. Crypto Isaac.
Crypto Isaac,
Isaac.
Isaac,
Yeah,
yeah.
Isaac. And we want to share and make a collaboration with Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, and the USA for security. Yeah,
Okay.
security is the most important thing in this market. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So improve the share of Japan trade crypto asset from 1% to 20%.
Yeah.
That's a very big big
Big
target.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kevin?
For the Trump administration to realize their MAGA, it's going to take a successful evolution of our relationships and the interconnectivity with the whole world, right? Crypto doesn't live in a vacuum, and the U.S. doesn't live in a vacuum. So for all the talk and the histrionics, et cetera, I think what we're going through, as you said, is a restructuring that's going to enable an interconnectivity that's going to be facilitated by this wonderful evolution of the blockchain ledger. You're going to see, I believe, a real explosion in applications, which I think Asia, Hong Kong, et cetera, leads the U.S. But I think there's going to be greater and greater alignment because it's in everyone's interest. So on the regulation front, the fact that the U.S. is finally stepping up and perhaps reassuming its historical lead in regulation, the opportunities for Hong Kong to align themselves, but to also differentiate themselves, as well as Singapore, as well as Japan, et cetera, is there. And the question will be in these markets, what is it that you decide you want to lead in? Because the U.S. is leading, generally speaking, but you all are going to be better than us in the U.S. in many things and should be and historically have been. So I think the opportunity is there, differentiation. And Marketing 101 is segment, target, position. And I think there's tremendous opportunity in this part of the world. And certainly Hong Kong has an opportunity, along with Singapore, to differentiate from the U.S., align themselves in the extent they have to and need to, but differentiate in ways that I think the creativity in this part of the world, the application evolution is going to be forthcoming, the DeFi as an example. So I see so much opportunity around the world outside of the U.S. And now that simply, hopefully, the U.S. is going to be supportive of this evolution. And so I see just a very bright future that I did not see 6 months ago, that we have not experienced ever in this ecosystem. And the opportunity, as Professor Lee, you alluded to, the U.S., we want to see inclusion. We want to see the average person around the world avail themselves of financial inclusion opportunity that we in the U.S. have been spoiled by. And that I think that's going to come. And I think it's now going to come sooner because, thank goodness, the U.S. is now playing its part relative to this landscape. So I couldn't be more excited and more bullish today. In all the years I've been working in this ecosystem, it's so exciting.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the compliment to Hong Kong and what we can do. We will try our best. But application side definitely rely on people, in the room and the tech innovators inside the venue. So we need all these people to innovate, to make new products for the industry. And we're about, the time's up, and there's a lot of interesting thoughts shared from the perspective from the free speaker representing different different part of the world. Thanks a lot. There's a lot of things we want to, of course, talk and actually update on, especially the US thing. But I know Jason's going to be sharing his thoughts on the US landscape, so we'll leave that part to him. And so everyone, please join me for a round of applause for our speakers. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you.